This time we're going to take a look at Azure Virtual Machines in Microsoft Azure. What are they? How do they work? And as always, what can they do for you? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Andy Malone, Microsoft MVP, as well as a Microsoft Certified Trainer. Welcome to the channel, and especially a warm welcome if this is your very first time here. Today I thought I'd take a look at something a little bit different. So far on my channel I've kind of focused a lot on Microsoft 365, Azure Active Directory, and a lot of the various components there. But today I thought I'd take a look at Azure Virtual Machines. Azure Virtual Machines have been part of Microsoft Azure right from the very beginning. Infrastructure as a service is an absolutely critical step forward in moving your business from an on-premises solution into the cloud. Now, whether you decide to go for a complete software as a service solution for the likes of Microsoft 365, or you still require some kind of server presence, then this definitely gives you a choice. But exactly how do they work and what do they do and how on earth do we set them up? All right, now if this is your first time and you've not subscribed, then we love subscribers here, don't we? So go ahead, click on that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you won't miss out on the good stuff in the future. And as always, I love your comments, questions and feedback, so please just get them down below. All right, so I think without any more jibber jabber, I think it's about time we got on with the demos. Let's take a look. So to start my demo, I'm going to go to azure.microsoft.com, and in here this tells you how you can get started with the Microsoft Azure. Now, just first of all, just to clear up a little bit of mystery, Azure, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of different services that run in Microsoft Azure. So everything from storage to infrastructure to virtual machines to many different technologies. Now, you can sign up for a free account, and this will give you a couple of $100 worth of credit, and you can go in and you can try it out yourself. Now, during the sign-up process, you'll be asked to put in a credit card, but please note that you're not billed. This is just purely for identity purposes. Now, the only gotcha is you can only have one Azure trial subscription per email address. So you might want to go to outlook.com and create yourself a trial Outlook account. Okay, so that's the first thing. So now here I am in my Microsoft Azure. Okay, and in here you can see that I can create a number of different resources, and I've got virtual machines. You can also create, you've got security solutions here. I've got resource groups, Azure Active Directory and storage accounts and so on. So the first thing to note, by the way, is when you come into Microsoft Azure, one of the first things that you'll need to do is you'll have a look at your subscription. So here is a subscription that I have. It tells me billing information, invoices and payments, and what resources I've currently got allocated to this particular subscription. And of course you can have a number of different subscriptions. Now for you guys, if this is your first time, you will have, as I say, a trial subscription. So definitely keep an eye on your billing and so on. Make sure that you don't go over your limits. So once you've done that, the next thing, of course, is we want to go ahead and we want to create what we call a virtual machine. Now, a couple of things. First of all, you'll notice that here we have something called a resource group. And a resource group is exactly as it says. It's a container, it's a tin. And within the resource group itself, we can have resources, and we can have a virtual network, we can have virtual machines, you can have virtual hard disks and so on. And the idea is that these are containers and they're self-contained, and they're much easier to manage because you can manage them with, for example, different security rules. You can set different permissions for identity and access and so on. All right. So what I'm going to do though is we're going to start straight from scratch, and I'm going to go into Azure Virtual Machines. Now, when you create an Azure Virtual Machine here, you have a number of different options. And you can see that we have got Azure Virtual Machine. You can do an Azure Virtual Machine with, for example, a preset configuration. So, for example, a template. We also have Arc, which is a connector to connect to, for example, non-Azure environments, for example, on-premises systems. And you've also got VMware solutions as well. I'm going to keep this really simple, and I'm going to go in to create an Azure Virtual Machine. Now, out of the box, you can see that we have got an option, and it says, okay, what kind of virtual machine do you want to create? And there's a number of tags that you've got to fill in. So first up, I'm going to choose my subscription ID, and do I want to create a new resource group, or do I want to use one of the resource groups that I've already created? So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to create a new resource group, and I'm going to call this my ADM demo. Okay, so I'm going to call this my ADM demo resource group, and I'm going to give it a virtual machine name. I'm going to call it Andy01. Okay, and now it says, okay, which region do you want to store the virtual machine? And it's really important that you choose the correct region. Please note that not all virtual machine types are available in each regions. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to choose East US. And here it says availability options. Now what this means is the machine going to be, is it going to be a critical system? So are you going to be running a Windows server? Do you want it clustered? And that means that you'll have, if the machine failed, then it will have a redundancy built in. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to keep it nice and simple, and I'm going to say no thanks. What kind of security do I want? Do I want standard security? Do I want trusted launch, virtual machines? And there's also something called confidential computing, which only works with specific processors. So for example, the Intel SGX range of processors. Now for this, I'm going to just keep the security as standard. And now it says, okay, which type of virtual machine would you like to use? Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of different VMs here that you can choose. And I'm just going to, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to choose Windows 11 Enterprise here. Now, please note that this is just showing you a selection of the images. There are lots of different images, and you can go in and view those. One word of warning, by the way, is be careful of images like this, Oracle, and these are third-party images, and they may incur heavy additional license costs. So be careful if you're just trying them out. I would recommend just use the basic Windows servers, Windows 11 and so on, just to try it out, and then you don't incur any additional cost. All right. Again, the size of the machine, so you can see it's giving you an estimate of how much it's going to cost you per month. Please note I'm based in the UK, so it's giving me UK prices here. Again, you can see all the different sizes. So again, this is 2 CPUs, so you might say, look, you know, I don't need anything like that. I just need perhaps 1 CPU, for example. What size of, how much RAM do you want to put in the machine? How many data disks do you want to put in? You can see that you get the prices here, and this is kind of the approximate price per month that you're going to get. So again, you just want to take a look at that. And just be aware that, you know, some of these are pretty pretty well stocked in terms of resources. So obviously the more resources that you want, the more expensive the machine is going to be per month. Okay, now for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this one here. So I'll select this one, and then it says, okay, do you want to put in a username? So yep, I'm going to put in a username here, and I'll just stick my username in here, and again I'll just stick in a password. Okay. Alrighty, so I've put in my password. Okay, make sure my passwords match. There we go. Okay, so my passwords match. And do I want public inbound or public inbound ports? So again, think about the security aspect of this. Do you want users to be able to come and connect to you? And again, one potential issue is if you allow inbound ports, the standard RDP port is port 3389. Now, be careful with this because, of course, if you have this open inbound, potentially you are, well, to coin a phrase, hackable. So again, think about, do you want inbound connection here? So I'm just going to accept that just as a default. Okay. So are you happy to go ahead with the license? And yes, I am. And I'm going to go ahead and review, and I'm going to create that virtual machine. Now, that will off it will go, and we will have our virtual machines. Okay, now while that's chugging away, we now get a validation. So this just lets me know that all the settings that I've put in are acceptable, and I can now click on create. Now, for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to just cancel this. I'm going to come out of this because here's one I've already made for you. So I'm going to go into, I've got this particular virtual machine here. So let's have a look at some of the settings. Now, you saw me when I created the virtual machine that I used something called RDP, which is the Remote Desktop Protocol. Now, Remote Desktop Protocol is pretty good, but one thing that you might want to consider is creating something called a bastion, okay? And a bastion is essentially a secure area within Azure networking. And a bastion is essentially like a firewall. So we can create a number of we can create a bastion and essentially run our remote sessions within that bastion. And that just adds an additional layer of security. All right. So for the purpose of this demo, I am now going to open up my virtual machine, and you can see here I get an overview of the machine itself. So this particular machine is a Windows 10 machine. I can see the networking settings that I set up. I can see the disks. Now, one of the really cool things about virtual machines is you can see I've got a hard drive here. You can add additional data disks. So really super flexible. You can simply just add as many disks as you like. Okay, now when you create a virtual machine, you've got the option, do you want to create it with a standard hard drive, or do you want to use a SSD drive? And of course the SSD or solid state storage, these are more efficient disks, but they're also more expensive as well. So when you purchase your VMs, just bearing in mind that they can be more expensive. But like I said, the cloud is very elastic, so you can have as much or as little space as you want. Okay, again, the size of the machine, again, it's dynamic. So if you feel that you're currently working on a machine that's not big enough for you, you've not got enough memory, enough processors, no problem. You can just simply change. You can adjust it, you can change dynamically. That's one of the fantastic features of virtualization. All right. Now, I'm just going to go back into my overview. And of course, the next thing that I want to do is, well, you can start and you can stop the virtual machines. And that's one really important thing, by the way. If I just go back to this screen here, you can see that my virtual machines are running. Now, if you don't want the virtual machine to be running all the time, essentially you're being billed for how often the machines are running. So a good idea is if you've stopped working with the VM, you might just want to switch that VM off and then switch it on demand. Okay, that can be quite a cost saving for you. So you can stop and restart virtual machines, you can refresh it, and you can also open it on any device, any type of device, including a mobile device. So you can see here, do I want to go and start an RDP session? But in my case, because I've gone ahead and configured a Bastion, it's going to allow me to set up and connect to that Bastion account. So I'm just going to put in my username and password, and I'm going to go ahead and connect to that. Now, and you can see a couple of moments later, you can see it fires up, and I'm now in this is my Windows 10 workstation. Everything looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Okay. Now, a common question is, Andy, what happens if I forget my password? It's not a problem. So you can scroll right down to the bottom of the page here, and actually there is an option here to reset your password. All right. So if you get stuck, you can go in and you can just reset your password from here. All right. And it does happen, of course. Now, other things that you might want to have a look at, again, the options here will depend really on the subscription level that you've got. But again, you've got things like updates. So do you want to deploy an update to the machine? You can set a maintenance lifetime if you want to. If you are using that redundancy, you will have disaster recovery options. You may have backup options within Microsoft Azure. And again, I'll talk about these in the future. One really useful feature to save you money is you can switch on the auto shutdown option. So you can put in here the date and time, or the time anyway, when you would like the machines to shut down. And that will save you an absolute fortune, by the way. All right. So there we have it. Just a little bit about Azure Virtual Machines and getting started. So there you have it, Azure Virtual Machines. I really hope that you enjoyed that, and especially if this is your first time. Now, if you've not subscribed, we love subscribers, so click on that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you'll be notified of any new videos. And as always, your questions, comments, and feedback are really welcome, so please get them down below. So that's it for this week. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time, and you stay safe. Take care. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy, and while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.